Thanks for joining us on the program Governance and Development Conversation, reaching you on the independent television platform right here in Benin City, South Nigeria. I'm Sonny Duke Okosun. Today on the program, our focus will be on agenda setting for the Edo State Executive Council, following the full complement of the council as appointed by the governor, Senator Monday Okpebolo. I mean, we have a full complement of commissioners, and we hope that that will just be enough for governance and development to be driven in Edo State, particularly against the background of the latest development as it relates to MDAs following the Supreme Court judgment. So in today's program, we'll be looking at how we can develop and implement a whistleblower policy and law in Edo State, enactment of Edo State Proceeds of Crime and Management Law, work with ICPC to establish actors in Edo MDAs, adoption and the implementation of Edo State Integrity and Accountability Strategy, etc., and lots more. And to help us make sense of all of these, I'd like to welcome to the studio the Deputy Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice. I'm talking about Dr. Leo Atakmo. Dr. Leo, it's always glad to have you on the program.
Thank you, Dr. Sonny Duke Okosun, and congratulations on your recent elevation as DG here in ITV.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go into the conversation. Conversation development program that we have engendered in the last couple of months is an offshoot of the ROLAC project, which ANEJ is leading in terms of galvanizing it, using it to drive issues that relates to development, anti-corruption, access to information, and all of that. Give me an overview of this project and what's your assessment of the conversation level so far in terms of engagement with government?
Well, the rule of law in anti-corruption project, ROLAC project, has been implemented by International IDEA with funding from European Union. This project has been on the past 1 year, and we've achieved a couple of success stories, particularly at the federal level. We've been also trying to engage the Edo State government, but a couple of hiccups around the transition program, moving from one administration to a new one, has been a bit of a challenge, getting the right people to make the right decisions, as regards to the issues, we are pushing for the project.
Okay.
Specifically, we've been looking at the issue of access to information being the main trust, of civil society and even journalists. Because for you to be able to engage meaningfully, you need information, you need data, and the right one for that matter. And very often, people could push wrong messages, wrong data, if they do not have the right one from the appropriate source.
Okay.
So that's why we are really keen on, having the Edo State government step down the FOI. And following the Supreme Court judgment, that all the law, the act itself, is enforceable across the 36 states. So we expect that there should be some kind of establishment of FOI desk,
Okay.
across the MDAs here in Edo, to be able to enable citizens, that need information from government, to easily have access. And in a few hours from now, perhaps the new administration will be 1 year.
Yeah.
And we are just in the past few days, the governor has also come up with re-engineering of the State Executive Council. And the governor, in doing that, also looked at what's happening at the federal level and decided to establish new ministries with new helmsmen, to take charge of these ministries, and patterned it after what's operating at the federal level. And so that in itself is a welcome development for us as far as this project is concerned. And the next, is to say that when we now have these institutions in place, You need policies, you need laws that will strengthen, that will, governance across these, new ministries that they have established. And of course, the new agencies will also emerge from those ministries.
Okay.
And so when you have those ministries and you have those agencies, they have to be in place, enabled, by an act of the Edo State House of Assembly. So we should expect that the state government should begin now to connect, with what is operating at the federal level. For instance, we expect that the Attorney General of this state now should begin to look at the FOI Act, and see how, those FOI desks can be established across the MDAs. Should also be looking at the issue of the whistleblower protection, because even the Okpebholo's administration is interested also in recovering assets that were taken away by some government, previous government officials and all of that. So that is an area of work, by ANIJ that we are interested in as well. Those who serve as officials of government, you do not need to leave office with property of the government, because these are property of the Edo people.
Yeah.
You don't bolt away with them. And we see, that the Okpebholo administration is interested in that. And Okpebholo will need a piece of legislation to guide how these things are done.
Yeah.
If you serve in government, you take away government property in any form, whether cash or kind or material, vehicles, whatever, you recover them. There should be an agency to make that recovery. So the law we are proposing, the process of crime law, will enable the government, to go after such officials and then recover those assets for the common good of Edo people. So these are some of the areas that, fits into the ROLAC project that we're talking about.
Fantastic. Is this going to be, okay, let's begin this way. I've heard some commentaries along the lines of cost of governance being a major challenge in Nigeria if you interface that with the state of the economy. With the state of affairs, how profitable, how germane, how realistic is it for us to have this number of commissioners in the state against the background of the realities of the state of the economy, and even looking at it from the federal level, which you said there seems to be a tangential relationship with what's happening at the federal level at the state level, which is commendable. But in the face of the economic situation in the country right now, how realistic are these? Yeah.
I mean, before the governor, I'm not holding brief for the governor, but before the governor will come up with such a decision, it must have been, some kind of planning. They would have thought through, the revenue that's available, to the government just now, and in taking those, in making those decisions that they have made. Don't also forget that not too long ago, the federal government removed subsidy on petroleum products. And immediately afterwards, the allocation going to the various state government, the tiers of government, including the local government, also jacked up. So from that time that the Tinubu administration came on board, up until now, they have, been improved revenue accruing to the various state governments. And the governor must have put all of those into context, in arriving at this decision. Don't also forget that government is also about in reducing the cost of governance. Government will look into several areas of sources of income, because again, as a labor man, a labor leader, labor creates wealth. When you give job to people, it will also create wealth for the government. Because all those ministries and departments and agencies, some of them will be saddled with the responsibility of raising revenue for the government. They're not just employed to collect salary, they are employed to work, to bring revenue to government, and also to give good governance to the good people of Edo State.
Okay, if you just join us, you're on to Governance and Development Conversation, reaching you live on independent television. The program is proudly brought to you by African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ, with the support of the European Union and International IDEA as part of the ROLAC project. In the last 1 year, the focus of the program, as you heard from the Deputy Director, African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, talking about Dr. Leo Atakbo, so far, the program has lived up to its expectations. And just now, the focus is on the Freedom of Information Act, access to information. When we return, we'll have a couple of things we're going to be talking about as it relates to ministries, departments, and agencies, access to information as an offshoot of the Supreme Court judgment, which made it mandatory for MDAs to comply with FOI Act. There's a lot more when we return. Stay with us.
We must begin to understand that if you need freedom, you must rise up.
It is important that, government resources are properly guarded.
The state's budget processes should be transparent and inclusive.
What ANEJ did was to kind of provide for the first intervention phase.
Thanks again for rejoining us on Governance and Development Conversation, proudly brought to you by ANEJ with the support of the European Union and the International IDEA. Dr. Leo Atakbo is here. All right, let's go into the nitty-gritty of today's package. Talking about the Freedom of Information Act judgment by the Supreme Court as it relates to MDAs. Some states were a bit reticent in its compliance. But once the Supreme Court speaks, every other thing follows suit. Exactly. So you talked about establishment of desks, FOI desks in MDAs. How possible is that, and what can ministry do? And is this all encompassing in all ministries, or you have specific ministries that, like the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Development, Budget and Planning, Ministry of Finance, and all of that?
No, it's across all MDAs, across all ministries, departments, and agencies. That all you need is just a desk officer. That if someone comes to that ministry and he needs any information, they say go to Mr. A, and Mr. A is able to look into whatever records that are available in that ministry, department, or agency of Edo State, and provide the information that the applicant or the one requesting the information is really making from that ministry. So, but again, to achieve a successful takeoff, we have also planned, if within the next 1 month the state government is willing, we are prepared to even train those desk officers, give them the right training that will enable them perform their jobs, their duties, creditably without harming the government. Okay. Because sometimes there's that fear, give out, maybe they will go and give out some sensitive information.
They use it against you or something.
No. So we'll give you that kind of training that will enable them, perform their duties very well, across the MDAs. And it really does not take anything away from it. This is a digital era, and this is an era of data. People need information every day. And sometimes when you make information available to the people do not have any cause to doubt, the government. Okay. So because now you have a credible source, from where you can pick up information from all the MDAs. So that helps government. Okay. But if the government feels that, oh no, we could maybe do some kind of arrangement, or maybe like you were suggesting, Office of the Attorney General or the Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, all of those places, okay, you plant people that can, you put the desk officers that can manage, information on behalf of the state government. Fine, well and good, but at least let there be an established arrangement that anyone who needs information from the various MDAs will access them without delays. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the whistleblower policy. Are you saying this is not already in existence in Edo State? But we know this has been one of the major tools for fighting corruption granting citizens access to information at the federal level. What is the state of the whistleblower policy in Edo State?
We do not have a policy on whistleblowers in Edo State as at yet. So part of what we feel the state government can also do is to put such a policy in place. Because again, if you really want to tackle corruption, you also need the whistleblower as much as possible. Because Mr. Governor cannot be everywhere. If there is something untoward going on in Ministry A or Department B or Agency Y, the governor may not be able to know. But if there is a whistleblower policy in place that will enable citizens to blow the whistle on any suspect, they will do that, within the ambits of that policy, and if possible, if there's a law, within the ambits of the law.
Okay.
In such a way that the whistleblower is protected. So we're talking about whistleblower protection. So you protect the whistleblower from any form of aggression from perpetrators
of victimization.
Of victimization.
Yeah.
From perpetrators of crime.
Yeah.
So that way, you are putting a system in place, that will help government to guard its resources from theft and unnecessary criminal activities that usually go on, in various ministries across, government levels in this country.
All right. ANICH, pride itself in helping to do very detailed follow-up on the Abacha loot, return of Abacha loot, over $300 million, and its implementation in terms of projects and all of that. That was something that was very phenomenal, for which ANICH received a lot of accolades, globally. Enactment of the proceeds of crime and management law in Edo State as part of this whole gamut of arrangement. To what extent will this also help to fight anti-corruption?
Oh, perfectly. That's exactly what any government needs, because this idea of pursuing, thieves all around, sometimes if you want to go to the court process, it could take 20, 30 years, in some cases 10, 15 years, to get judgment, against, a criminal. But if you have the proceeds of crime, law in place in Edo, for instance, the first thing that law enables you to do is to dispossess the criminal of the proceeds of crime. Then the criminal will now come and defend, how he came about the proceeds of crime. But if you're able to defend, fine, well and good, the system can allow you have them. But if you do not justify how you come about a particular wealth, someone who is not doing anything, he doesn't have a job, and suddenly he's driving the best car in town, he has a very big house, and to parade, and then you don't just question, So people easily, what you find now is that people steal from government, and then they stash those resources in real estate and all kind of locations. Some even buy trinkets worth, golden trinkets worth millions of dollars and all of that. So what you do is that you dispossess the criminal of those assets, and then the agency that you could set up with such a law could provide for how such assets, will be managed. At the national level, where the Governor Monday Okpebholo is copying from now, the Proceeds of Crime Act is in place.
Okay.
That is why the federal government can go after, people who loot the treasury of the country and then recover the assets that they can recover. And so we have all the expertise, to assist the Edo State government, to put the policy in place, to put the Proceeds of Crime law in place. And so all we need is the collaboration of the Edo State government. We are willing, to work with the Attorney General of the state, to have all of these pieces of legislation in place, for the good governance of Edo State.
What's the level of partnership and collaboration between ANICH and anti-corruption agencies like EFCC and ICPC, particularly as it relates to ACTUS. What does ACTUS stand for?
Yeah, the anti-corruption units, that are usually established around the MDAs at the national level. That has not happened at the sub-national level. But we have had cause to have some meetings with the ICPC management in Abuja, and part of our decisions at that meeting was that there would be need to establish the ACTUS, work with the state governments to establish ACTUS, at the MDAs, at the sub-national level. And they were really particularly interested in Edo State, because now they have a zonal office of ICPC here in Benin.
Okay.
So it will be easier for them, to pilot, the establishment of ACTUS in the various MDAs here across Edo. And it will go a long way, in helping the Edo State government also, particularly even when we talk about the whistleblower protection law.
Okay.
If you have an ACTUS, in around the MDAs,
yeah.
That will also help, in galvanizing the required information that government can act upon, in dealing with people who abuse public trust and public office.
Okay. On a final note, how feasible is the adoption and implementation of the Edo State Integrity and Accountability Strategy, ETSIAS?
Already there's a draft, of ETSIAS. Our sister organization, the ROLAC, they have an office here in Edo State. They work with the Edo State government, the past administration, to develop a strategy, on how to improve transparency and accountability in the states. That's what that document is all about. Because it helps government to save its money, that money will not be abused by those they are appointing. Okay. Because if you don't put all those laws in place, you open your system, for abuse. People can take money and, disappear with it, and there's really no piece of legislation on ground, to hold them to account. So that is why we are really pushing that the Edo government, should put all of these pieces of legislation in place.
If you just join us, you're still on to Governance and Development Conversation, proudly brought to you by African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANIJ, with the support from the European Union and the International IDEA as part of the ROLAC project in the fight against corruption and ensuring that resources of government at the federal, state, and local government levels, they are available for governance and development. And we'll bring this conversation on just to help you make sense of all that is happening. This phase of the project is focusing on access to information. We'll talk about the FOI desk offices at ministries, departments, and agencies. We'll also talk about the ACTUS project, Anti-Corruption Unit, and several other component parts of these whole projects, just to ensure that we have a cleaner, safer environment where resources can actually be deployed for the development of our communities. Just before we wrap up the program, just to let you know that you can follow this program on ANIJ's Twitter, ANIJ's YouTube channel is on the screen, and you can also follow up with some more information update on the conversation by sending us an email at anijnigeria@gmail.com. You can WhatsApp us on the number 081-876-74339. And of course, Facebook at ANIJ Nigeria, Twitter, which is now X, at ANIJ Nigeria, and of course at YouTube at ANIJ Nigeria 9347. That's our package for today. Let me say big thanks to Dr. Leo Ataku for your time with us.
Thank you, Dr. Duke Okosun.
All right. That's our program for today and for this week on Governance and Development Conversation. Be sure to join us next week, Monday at 5:30, when we'll bring you a fresh installment of the program. Until then, stay blessed and bye for now.